Everybody, welcome to another One in Comics Pairing Show. As always, I am Dave. Down in the corner with me is Dallas, sipping his wine right as I'm introducing him. That's the way it always goes. And with us today are two very special guests. Russell Nohelty returning for a second time to the One in Comics Pairing Show. And for the first time, S.K. Prince, the writer of the comic that we are here to talk about today, Death's Kiss. Let's put that cover image right there on screen. A very sexy... very sexy, classy, not safe for work, supernatural romance comic. And this is it's not the first, it is the first officially not safe for work comic that we have debuted on this show. But at the same time, I hesitate to entirely use that phrase because there are some comics that we've had on this show that are not for kids per se. They're not all ages. They're not Spider-Man from Marvel or anything like that. Like, I would not show it to my kid. I would not necessarily recommend it to another parent. But this is the first comic that is officially proudly wearing the NSFW banner. And I think that is something that we're going to talk about that today, because I know it's Russell's first official Not Safe for Work comic. You are new to us, SK, so we have to talk a little bit about your past and history and how you came to be a part of this comic. So let's actually start there. First off, I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Russell or SK, that this was a germ of an idea or an original idea from Russell originally.
No.
And then there we go. So in that case, whichever one of you, I would love to know, where did this idea come from? Where did this collaboration come from? How did you decide to do this comic together?
Since it's your idea, SK, you want to start?
Well, I was invited to do an anthology with a bunch of huge paranormal romance authors on my baby pen name. I have like 6 pen names. Hello. Most people know me as Melissa Storm. But I'm also Molly Fitz and Luna Ryder and 6 million other things, including dead things. But today I'm asking.
You have probably read her, whether you know it or not.
Yes, I'm in all the genres. But I was a baby paranormal romance author at the time, and some really big names were putting this collection together and invited me. So I said, okay. And I came up with the idea of a psychopomp from a dead culture who falls in love with a mortal who's the first person who can see and touch her. And story was born. It's about 15,000 words. The set, I think, became a USA Today bestseller. And it's one of my favorite things I've ever written. So pause a year and then enter Russell. Russell and I just are cool people who are attracted to each other like magnets because cool attracts cool, right? I know I'm like aging myself tremendously by using that word. I'm 39. It's embarrassing, but true. So we wanted to work together, but we didn't know on what. So we started spitballing, and I said, here's some books I have. What sparks joy in your life, Mr. Nohelty? And he's like, I love death. I love death and hell. So I think like 2 hours later, he's like, just in case, I wrote a script. And he sent me like a 25-page script of the comic. And that's kind of how our relationship has been ever since, is we get excited and do the thing immediately. And we both believe if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So that's why we have so much amazing art from top artists. It's a pretty cool project. Everyone should totally back it. And there is my answer for you.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Also, on top of that, like Melissa and I both did like book marketing for authors, like decades ago. It feels like 30 years ago, but like, and so like that was like the first time that I knew who she was. Then I read like a bunch of Molly Fitz books when they came out and got big, and then we reconnected at 20 books like 2 years ago. But yeah, like my things like death mythology. So if you can, like, we have a conference in New Orleans, and like, so like, again, like just whatever death mythology stuff you got, like I'm going to get really excited for. And yeah, I definitely read, I think you sent me like 3 things, and I was like, I love all of these things, but like this one about death, like that's the one that I really, 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 really like. And we, like, usually I rely on collaborators to moderate me. from like my like overspending ways, but I was like, what if we hire my dream artist? And what if we hire my dream cover designers? Like, what if we do this? And then we would get a cover designer, and like they would send us a bunch of stuff. We'd be like, what if we like both of them? We're just gonna buy both of them. Is that okay to buy both of them? And like we did that like multiple times.
Yeah.
We single-handedly supported the art industry through the AI upset. Russell and I single-handedly gave art. So you're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sure they are very grateful.
And many people like what normally happens when you do a not safe for work cover and a safe for work cover is that you just change the like you just take the clothes off. Same
boobs,
clothes, take
no
the clothes
boobs.
off.
Boobs, no boobs.
Right.
But like we were like, what if we like we have completely different covers for like the not all of them, but like the not safe for work and safe for work for like Yishan's are like wildly different. The same thing with Luca's, wildly different. Like, you know, and then we have Melissa Paliuka, who like just did a cover dress treatment, and like Jen has like a Jen St. Donge has a has just like a clothing change basically, and but like we pretty much we went really all out. Like I was like, this is my like dream list of, and like Jen was on it, Melissa was on it. This is two different Melissas.
Am I one of the Melissas?
You are one of the Melissas.
Okay, because I'm SK right now, Russell.
You were the one who said you were the one who introduced yourself as your other names, not me.
That's out of the bag.
You put the cat out of the bag.
Speaking of the cat, though, like, can I give you guys like a little fun fact that most people don't know?
Please.
Yes.
So the author SK Prince, as I mentioned, is a pen name. It's my paranormal romance and reverse harem pen name. But SK Prince is actually this Chihuahua.
Oh.
Her name, she's my anxiety support dog, and she's always with me. Her name is Sky Princess. I just removed a couple letters from her name, and that's where SK Prince came from. So she is the dirty girl who wrote this comic.
Very nice.
She's a good girl, but a dirty girl.
dirty good girl. Good dirty girl.
That's the best
That tends
kind.
to be
the best kind of girl to be.
That's kind.
Right. In that order. So out of curiosity, so Russell, you mentioned that you took her story, you wrote a script. Was there more? Now, I noticed, SK, when you mentioned your story originally, there was a psychopomp, and that changed a little bit in the comic version of the story. So Russell, did you like just adapt this to something that was like your prefer, like, you know, you threw in a few more things in terms of like, I don't want to give anything away in the story, so I'm just going to say like you threw in a few more elements that are your favorite things to pepper into stories, or did you guys go back and forth on it a little bit in terms of like what the comic script wound up ultimately to be?
Sure. Well, the thing that I learned most was that psychopomp is the generic term for Grim Reapers. And so like she was a Grim Reaper in the original. She's a Grim Reaper now. Like she wasn't, there are other psychopomps in the story, but like I pretty much did. Well, like it's kind of complicated to do like a book to comic translation because like you're looking for the most evocative shots for someone to draw, but like a book has like prose, so you have to like mix the and with this character there was a lot of her own thoughts in her head. It wasn't like action cues, so you had to figure out how to get something into a like film drawable piece while keeping the book like essence, and also but like I tried to keep as much as humanly possible. We used the European style, so it's an 8.5 by 11.45 or something format, so that we could fit more on the page. And like we packed, there's probably like I probably should have made it like 32 pages. Like if we had done a regular comic, it would have been like 32 pages, but because it was an oversized comic, we were able to get it in 24 pages. But I think it's just like sex takes a lot of time on a page. And like there's a lot of sex in this book. So like we were able to bring like many, many thousands of words of sex down to like envisioning sex on a page,
right?
Like envisioning action on a page. Like if
right.
you're writing an action scene, there's like punches and kicks and there's all this stuff.
Right. You're painting the whole picture in the choreography, and sex has choreography. Like you've got to be like, where is every player and what exactly are they doing? And then what are they feeling? What are they thinking? What are they? And in the comic form, that's where it actually is to your benefit, because so much can be visual versus having to paint that picture only in words.
Yeah. I meet with other romance writers about doing similarly, and I was like, the amount of pages your comic is very highly dependent on how much sex there is in it. Because like sex can get like 10,000. It's like spinach. It's like a 10,000 word sex scene or 1,000 word sex scene can be like 5 panels, and also it has to be a different 5 panels each time. So like. Yes. Usually there's multiple positions and such that you're doing. And so like if you've already seen that position in one sex scene, I will not show it again generally.
Right.
Yeah.
If you thought your real sex life was boring, it's like you don't want to see that on the page where it's like the same event every single time it happens. And it's like readers expect more.
They for yourself. I'm so sorry.
I do.
For you, Miss Baxter,
I will say that I'm writing a romance for SK now, or finishing up one, and like I feel like I don't understand sex now after reading this thing. It's like
to be fair, he's an alien and has special magical penis. That's
wait, are you talking about Russell or the character?
Possible? I don't know. I'm only familiar with the character in that way.
Russell writes what he knows, right?
Right.
This is so. Yeah, it was very interesting experience for the because yes, you don't want to like show the same, like you want it to be dynamic, just like an action scene. They're actually very similar. Like now that I've written a sex book, like a book with a bunch of sex in it, that is like it's very much like writing a fight scene. It's like almost like, okay, they do this. How do we get them in a different position? How do we get them here? They have to like go through these like how many people are in the scene? Like you have to like get it.
It's choreography. It's fight choreography. Right. Absolutely.
It's physical. It's very physical, yet somehow character driven while being very, very physical. And which is, if you're doing a good action scene, it's supposed to be that way as well, where the physicality is still driven by what the characters are trying to accomplish, how they're going about it, what the obstacles are, so on and so forth. So, I mean,
just like sex scenes, it's about the movement, the inertia, the momentum, and so
I really feel like there should be another woman here. There's a lot of masculine
because we're talking about action scenes, and you're like, no.
Okay, well, SK, what's the counterpoint?
I don't have a counterpoint, but it just felt very bro energy for a sec.
Oh God. Well, that is a perspective.
I really do want to though talk. You had a lot of. Like you gave a lot of control to me, but you also had a lot of like you had very strong opinions about like what should and shouldn't be in the book. Like so I kind of came I took the story and I was like, here's a script. And she's like, can I make 500 changes to this 24-page book? And like I kind of, because I work with mostly either myself or people who've done comics for a long time. So like, how was that process for you?
I didn't realize I had made 500 changes, but it sounds correct now that you say it. It was really interesting because I was completely learning a new skill, and I didn't expect Russell to be like, I like this, and then 2 hours later have the full script. Like now I expect this of Russell. I'm very used to it.
Right.
And love it and appreciate it. But it was really interesting seeing the panels and what's adapted and what's missing. And then there was a subplot that I really amped up to the point we needed a sensitivity reader. We deal a lot with Mexican culture. And that was really important to me because it showed that the dominant Western culture was replacing and assimilating other cultures. So my favorite character in the story is the Painted Reaper, which is a classic Mexican painted skull psychopomp slowly turning into a Grim Reaper.
Right.
So this character is bilingual and throws in Spanish phrases, and we kind of like amped that up even further because that was an important message for me within the sex, like, you know, slow down Westernization, other cultures are good too. But yeah, it got to the point where I'm like, I need a Mexican friend to review this and make sure we're good. But Russell was down. He loves the cultural stuff too. We did drop another plot point because it was too complicated in the context of the comic, which is why the man can see her. And we ended up editing that out because I just didn't feel like there was enough to explain it well.
Oh, I thought, but you did explain it.
Did we?
Well,
didn't you?
A little bit.
I thought you did.
There was a whole, so in the original script, there was like a whole thing. Like there was like maybe like 1,000 or 1,500, 2,000 words, something about it. And I think it ended up being like a tweet, like one thing.
Like,
yeah.
Because I'm like,
I
don't
know, it's in
anymore.
It's in the copy I read.
Yeah, I think it's
assuming.
So you have all the answers you need. But
and that's all you needed.
Amped up the Painted Reaper because that was my favorite character. Sneak in a little message. Russell and I really connect on all kinds of like social issues. So where we could put one in, we did.
And I think I kind of really wanted to have that Painted Reaper more prominent because like the visual is such a great like visual.
It is.
So they were pretty important in the story too. Like they have a very important role in the story, but in the comic, it's like they are much more prominent. Like they did not get 8 or 10 pages of. They did not get like half of the comic. I feel like features them, but like half of the story doesn't feature them.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's interesting because I actually took and it probably was just my misreading it, but I was thinking that the change between the Reaper and the Psychopomp, it was actually going the opposite direction, that she was going to become more like the Psychopomp and not vice versa. And that was where that person, because they just seemed more of the mentor, right? Where it's like, you've been doing this. They've both been doing it a long time by human standards, but it was like, she seemed to be the more, obviously she was going through these conflicting feelings and changes and deciding whether she was going to go with that change and accept the consequences for it or not. And the Mexican Psychopomp was much more, they were open. And it's interesting now that you put it in perspective that it was the cultures assimilating each other, because the Mexican Psychopomp had a much chiller response to change in general. Like, we're going to do something different. And they were like, it happens. I don't know if I recommend it. I don't know if it's what you really want to do. Like, I'm going to caution that, but it's like, I'm not going to get in your way, or I'm not going to, this is not the end of anyone's universe or world, change and that type of a thing. So it puts that into a little more perspective there. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I really like that take. And it's a really interesting question of the character who literally feeds on souls and exists by taking souls to the underworld. What happens when they start to develop one of their own?
Right.
And that's where our love story came from.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
She caught feelings.
She caught feelings for a bad guy.
Damn it. Got my cheers. Cheers, Dallas.
Cheers.
I know you have
Cheers.
a
Cheers.
Cheers,
sure.
Russell. Do you have tea? Do you have anything? What do you got? What do you got?
Water.
Water.
Oh, you got water. That's fine. Here, in
Tiz.
solidarity with you, we'll each take a sip of water.
Got that too.
Yeah, exactly. Need the water to go with the booze.
Well, mine is sparkling cider because my husband didn't feel like dealing with drunk wife tonight. So when I sent him out for wine, he came back with this Drek. But no, I appreciate him.
Sparkling cider is tasty at the very least, but yeah, you're like not hard cider. I mean, come on, that's like what 6-7% alcohol. Like, come on, man. Like,
I am a pretty obnoxious drunk when I'm not in business
okay.
mode.
Okay, yeah. That's fair. So he's like, no, not at home.
Yeah, the bars at con are always so entertaining. So entertaining.
Yeah. 100%.
So
I've got you.
Many.
I think your image froze, Dallas. I'm yeah. I'm gonna do the trick. I'm gonna remove you.
It's a really nice still though. He looked good in it.
It was a really nice still. There you are.
Kind of like instead of like
I know
how things freeze for me.
That's true. I'll take it.
There you go. And I feel like whenever we're camera shy or like we can't, like we all need that perfect like still shot photo where we just look our best, and it's just like we just put that up and then we talk, and it's as good as it gets. So moving on from the origins of the story and whatnot. So you mentioned about going after your dream artists and whatnot. What had you go after Ishan Lee? And was that your number, like Russell, was that or SK? I'm not sure who had that thought.
I know nothing.
Okay, okay. So it was Russell. So Russell, was that just like the number one choice the moment you read the story and knew that you were going to adapt it into a comic? Or how did you go to because she is pretty perfect for this story. And I'm just very interested if there was a process behind that, or if you were just like, nope, I know who I'm going for.
So I gave SK like 5 or 10 names, and I was like, go look at all of these books and tell me who the ones that resonate with. And then I think you came back with a list of like 2 or 3 that really like did like and Lee Sean was on it, but like the list to me was Yishan. I've been trying to work with her since I saw Charlie's Galarian book. And this was like 2 or 3 years ago. So I've been trying to literally work with her. And I think it was important to both of us, but it was definitely like essential for me to hire a woman to do this story. And you'll see a woman drew it, a woman publishes it, a woman, mostly women are the cover designers for, and I have always been skeptical of whether I wanted to do a not safe for work comic because I have my own intrinsic biases of how things should look. And so I kind of pulled back once we had the artist because I know what like she can do. Once we had like the art, I was like guiding, but I was more like reliant on Melissa to tell me where the boundaries and the lines were. But I don't think there were. Like I think like there was one point where we were like, baby needs to be like younger or something.
Yeah,
like
that was like there was no kickback except for at the very end. Yeah, and I'm like, no, the baby has to be brand new. It cannot hold its head up. It's very important to the story that the baby is brand new. So that changed like 4 panels, but that was it.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
No, no. I mean, only not. It's out of context. It's out of context. It's out of context. I don't think it's a spoiler.
It's a teaser.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's teaser. There you go. And we'll get to
if you like sex and babies. That's Kiss.
I
don't know about you guys, but I like those things.
Yep. There you go. There you go. Although with how it ends, it's funny. When I first got to the end, my first thought was, I feel like the 2 writers of this comic, like I feel like I'm like, I don't think anyone has kids who wrote this story. And the reason I thought that is just like the romance of leaving them behind is sort of, I'm like, no, as also someone without kids, I'm like, yes, I think that's ultimately romantic.
Later, kids.
Hell yeah,
I feel like right, but I'm like, but I feel
I am a very proud and fierce and angry mama bear of a 10-year-old non-binary wunderkind. So I personally would not say, oh, fuck yeah, let's abandon the baby. I would kill anybody who threatened the baby. So
there you go.
Don't say a thing.
Gotcha. But yeah, it felt like that type of romance where I'm like, I mean, I think it's very romantic, but I'm like, I have way too many friends with kids where I'm like,
it is very matinee,
the most romantic, romance, right? Yeah, but it does set up for a sequel. It is a bit of a cliffhanger, a bit of an emotional, because there's and one thing about this story, and probably for any true great romance story, is like there's always a sacrifice, right? No matter what, whether you're sacrificing your place, your reputation, your well-being in some way, shape, or form, or in this case, like something like if you want to go on and have this quote unquote everlasting sort of ending. Again, trying not to reveal too much here, give too much context, but it's like something is always sacrificed for that greater love. So I liked the ending quite a bit. I think, I'm assuming there's at least a thought of a follow-up to this one, correct?
Russell and I are very, very bougie when we're together. I think when we're apart, we're mostly just, nose down and do the work. But when we're together, we went to the Martha Stewart restaurant and dined on caviar and then went to the bar. And so we have an idea, but we both came in, we're like, we need to write something really marketable that romance readers love. And by the end of the night, we just had decided, so it's communism in hell, and this is an allegory for, and we're like, okay, but we can't be too obvious. So Ron needs to be Evan. But we just like went really into it, and like as the night progressed, I got more drunk, and I'm like, Russell, you just look so much like Rasputin. You just look so much like Rasputin. We should use that.
Oh my God, he does.
So now it's part of the plot. So
but like I would say that one of the things that I really wanted, and I caution everyone who wants to do their book to a comic is like pick something that is is self-contained, and it won't cost like $1 billion to do in case you don't like it. And so when I mean, SK loves it. Like, I think like that based on like what I have heard, like very positive things about comics. But like it was important to me before like we did a longer project or bigger project that like, and I think this is true for anyone who wants to do comics, is like maybe don't spend $20,000 or $50,000 to do like art on a book when like you could spend like a couple $1,000 or way more than a couple $1,000 in our case, because not only did we do art, we did translations, and we had like editors, and we had like we had to get 2 logos, 2 letterings, like 2 editors, like it was a lot of like stuff. We also translated like the one-off story, the original story. So it was a lot of like things that we put into this easily. Like I think this one issue was more expensive than a volume of Ichabod to do art for. No, I'm almost sure it was almost as much as Katrina, which was the next highest. Okay, my highest one ever. And like I'm saying, it cost more to do this book for 24 pages than it did to do the entirety of like 5 issues of Katrina.
Right.
Amazing. So, out of curiosity, why the translations? What was that a market decision because this type of story was just going to do so well in those markets, or?
Honestly, it's probably a gamble that did not pay off, but I would have hated myself if I didn't take the gamble.
Yeah.
When Russell fell in love with this story, I said, look, if we're doing something from my SK Prince catalog, my entire fan base is in France. So we got to do it in French.
Yeah.
So I made it a lot more complicated and expensive, but it hasn't connected with French readers as much as I had hoped it would.
Right.
Like, that's why we have a French comic as well. The sizing, a lot of decisions were made for that. So it was a cool learning experience, and maybe the French will find it later.
Right.
Really
I mean, if that is your fan base, yeah. Once you release it outside of crowdfunding, yeah.
We're talking about the process here at SK. What was the experience of this process for you? I'm really curious as to how you sort of, dealt with the changes and the idea creation and the machine, and what was completely out of the ordinary for you, and what
I honestly loved every step of it. I'm really risk tolerant. My author career took off because one day I decided, like, I'm going to be a USA Today bestselling author. And I was making like a couple hundred a month at that time. And I was just like, $20,000, boom, marketing campaign on this book I'm going to go all in for. And that's what kicked off my career, because then it went to several $1,000s and it kept building after that. So I'm very good at swinging wildly and hoping I hit something. As long as I'm having fun playing the game, who cares if I don't hit the ball, So it was really, really cool reading Russell's script adaptation and seeing like how that looks, because I've never thought about my stories that way or seen them in that format. And I'm honestly not super familiar with comics either. I was kind of like freaking out before this. I'm like, oh shit, the invite says I have to have a drink and a comic, and I only thought about the drink. Fuck, I need a comic. So my 10-year-old brought me the Five Nights at Freddy's books.
Adorable.
I certainly know all the lore and hear about it all the time.
Nice.
I know the franchise like the back of my hand.
That's great.
Not by choice, but those are my comments. So, but yeah, no, it was really cool. I trusted Russell. He was somebody whose integrity and artistic vision I trusted, and I knew that he wouldn't. I want to say wild swing again, but I just used it in a positive way, so I don't want to use it in a negative way. But I knew Russell would take care of it. Like, I knew it mattered to him, and that it would be a collaboration and continue in the spirit. And I've written, over 140 books at this point in my career. So I'm not super precious about any one of them. So I was open as an author. I think authors who, if you're the type of author who is upset that the exact eye color doesn't match on the cover of your book, comics probably aren't for you. Like, you have to make some adjustments.
Save for the cheap seats, for sure.
My hip tip is to get the cover before you write the book, and then write the book to match the cover, which is what I do.
Right.
But yeah, it was a really cool process. It was a really fun process. I wasn't shy about spending money, which we didn't realize was a problem until we'd already spent over $10,000. And Russell's like, maybe we don't need more covers. Maybe we should chill.
The producer brain turned back on there, Russell.
Right.
But then,
I was going to say Russell tries things, but he's very smart about it. Like, he cares that it actually makes a certain sense, even if there's an element of risk involved or uncertainty involved. Yeah. Well,
and I feel like this was like, if we were going to swing at something, we needed to swing big, because you don't get, it was interesting because it was someone who knew romance really well and did not know comics, and me, who knew comics very well but did not know romance as well. And so we were both like adding a thing that we had never done before. But yeah, I mean, it was really interesting to go through the process, because I mainly talk to about comics with people who already do comics or love comics. And so there were several places where it was like, why are you doing it that way? And I was like, I tried to explain it, and I was like, you're just gonna have to trust me on like some of this stuff, because like, it's not going to make sense. and then it's like gonna make complete sense. Like, but I don't know how to without like doing a like understanding comics like lesson and like a whiteboard to make you understand why it has to be that way. And hopefully
we got
like,
there. We got there. We had one bad day where we had exchanged like 40 emails because I had some really basic questions, and Russell's like, "Why don't you know?" And then we were like, Hey, I'm having a bad mental health day. Hey, I'm having a bad mental health day. Talk tomorrow. And then 2 hours later, we started talking again and we were fine.
So what you're saying is communication is key when you're attempting to take on a project.
And Russell and I are both doers. And so we were kind of just like butting our heads up against the wall where I'm like, I don't understand
and it's
this.
good to pause and break that tension just for 2 hours, right? And then
we've been there. We've all been there.
Right.
Yeah.
Me and
but
Dallas have been there. Yes.
It was fine. And like, I really appreciated him teaching me the stuff and being really patient, because it was just the one day where we were trying to set our tiers. And I was like, what's a virgin? What's a print? What's this? Why are we doing it this way? And he's like, this is already so complex. And I'm like, well, if I don't know, other romance readers won't know either. Like, let's explain. Virgin means something different to me.
The romance writer.
Then one question we got in this
in novel audience versus the comic audience,
covers and other covers like got so many times got emails this campaign, which I've never done before. So well, and we brought Lori in pretty late in the process, but I think that day happened like right around we were talking to Lori, and I was like, this is a Lori problem. This is not a Lori problem right now. But like, when we sign this deal, this whole train will be a Lori problem. Like, I feel like the first after we had our first conversation with Lori, Melissa was like, next week on Wednesday, we need to sit down and go through this together, like this page. Or maybe it was like 2 days later, but at some point it was like, you need to tell me all of these things because I haven't optimized this way. And I was like, I will not be in that meeting, but you two should totally have it.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's a big project, and you got to know your limits and your ceilings, and it's process.
Dallas,
you're frozen again, Dallas. But
skill.
Yes, that is the best. I'm leaving you here for a moment until
the random modeling is like insane.
Well, it is. This will all be recorded on YouTube for posterity, the whole show. So it'll be there. I can go get the screenshot later. But I'm leaving you up here like this because that is the best frozen shot you've yet done. And I'm holding you. You look so cheerful and so friendly, and it's so
that is such a lie.
I'm keeping it there. Yes, and I'm keeping it there.
It looks like you could be a rom-com hero.
I know. Amazing. So I did want to say to that effect, though, the idea that like I have conversations with a lot of comic people as well. Like we do, if you're in comics or if you're in the novel and the book scene, and if you're doing crowdfunding or if you're doing Amazon and you're selling your books there, and you get to know the platform, you get to know the entire ecosystem, the cons, the book fairs, the everything. And when someone new enters that sphere, I have to calm. I only know the comic scene. I don't know the book scene that well. And I always calm down other comics people all the time because they're like, someone pledged this, and then they asked me this really stupid. They sent me an email or a message on Kickstarter asking me this really stupid question that I'm like, this person, I think they're gonna get upset, and I'm like, well, they don't know. I'm like, this could be their first comic they've ever been.
Contact to this world. Yeah.
Oh, it broke, Dallas. Now you're unfrozen. It was so good. But
man, now we have to look at the real you again. Still handsome, still rom-com hero.
Stop it.
Somebody should make a comic about you.
Oh God.
I know.
It's true though.
Sipping the white wine, it's perfect.
Dave does Dallas.
But I'd already brought somebody, because I brought Monica, my business partner, through this process already. And so also I was just like, you have access to the course, you have access to the book, here's the chapter, you should go and listen to it if you want more information. But also I just knew it happened to Monica. She was like, I don't get it. And then she got it eventually. And so I just had faith. And
it was my first Kickstarter as well as my first comic.
Okay,
so
there you go.
Kickstarter too.
Yes.
Wow.
I was going to say, because it sounded like the book scene usually is not that Kickstarter heavy.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, it tends to be more obviously the publishing platforms, but not necessarily crowdfunding.
Yeah.
I mean, comics are the same way. They're not, everyone is on Kickstarter all the time. Like a lot of indie comics people only do traditional distribution and whatnot. But I think it is like we often forget how long we've been doing these things, or just how embedded we've been in those worlds, and that it is completely alien when someone first arrives to that world, and that all this terminology is like, this doesn't actually make literal sense. Like you have to learn the world and then it makes sense. But
It's
like
industry
me
process.
looking at it, right,
Yeah.
the English doesn't make sense as on its own. Like it all needs translation.
My biggest WTF moment was when Russell was like, well, we'll need at least 8 covers. And I'm like, what? Why? And he's like, well, that's just what you do in comics. Oh, I get more cool art. Okay, I'm on board. And after that, everything was good, except for when I was like, I don't know what you mean by virgin. Please help me understand.
Right.
Well, I actually went through this with Jello too, because they were like, you have too many tiers. I'm like, not safe for work comics. Like if any other, if we were doing a book, if we were doing like a safe for work comic, like I'd be like, yeah, this for 8's too many. Like I've done 4 in a regular comic, and like it was too many. And so, but like there's something of, and I don't know, I don't get it. Like I don't understand why like people would pledge $700 for like 40 covers, but I also like don't think they understand why I would have spent like so much money being an author either. So like I don't care. I just know that like this small group of humans like really likes covers, and they really like covers in different like dressings. And so like I have never done it before, and part of the disconnect was like I've actually never done this before. I just have heard about it. So like I can't actually tell you for sure what was happening because like it's something I have never done. Once Lori became involved, like she's done not safe for work comic stuff before. Like she's worked with tons of artists before, and like I tend to work with like a very small group of artists. Yeah. But now I'm going to tell you, if I do a comic not safe for work or safe for work, I figured out how to do like a bunch of cover. Like I think I understand it now, because it's not about what's on the cover. That's only half of it. It's like 20% of it is what's on the cover. 80% of it is who drew that cover.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah,
which is not something that I would have ever thought about until I watched it happen. And I, like I said, they have like every cover, and you can see how popular each one is. And like, it doesn't seem to matter. People don't have an affinity for price. They don't really care what price is. They just want like the one they want.
Right. They're connected to the personality for value.
I mean, I won't pretend to understand it either. I'm not a big buyer of to be honest, to date, I still haven't pledged on crowdfunding for a not safe for work comic. Oh, like by modern standards of not safe for work comic, which I did want to ask you, Russell, you said you had your biases about it. And because I do as well, where I'm very usually dismissive of quote unquote not safe for work comics. Certainly if a comic is a quote unquote adult in terms of like not for kids, like it's violent, language, weird, gross, any of those things, like, you know, the old underground comics of the day, like I love that shit. That is cool. But nowadays, not safe for work generally means TNA, sexiness, titillation, that type of thing.
Titillation.
And that's that is not my thing. I'm just sort of like, yeah, it's not really. I mean, it's not what I go to comics for generally speaking. And it's not, I'm like, I really care, you know, more about the story, more about the what is it that I'm reading. How it's presented doesn't really matter per se as much. So for you, Russell, what were the biases? Like when you were looking at this trend that has absolutely been happening for the last couple of years, what were your biases and what helped you break through that?
I mean, I just got over myself. Like first I met like a bunch of
Okay.
romance authors for like a long time and like a
Right.
lot of romance readers. 'Cause like there's some like it's almost as if romance writers and readers exist in a different publishing universe than everyone else. I don't know if
I see that.
SK agrees with this statement because she's in so many genres.
Romance
Right.
India is famous and infamous both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm for the past 5 years or so, no, wait, 4 years, since whenever I started working with Monica, like I've really met a lot of romance authors because they're the ones that know marketing and they're like the ones who are making all of the money and they're the ones that I learn from and like I end up hanging out with. And like I don't know, at some point I just like got over myself and was like I also don't like super violent things either. But and like I but like I did write several hyper violent things in my
You did.
day. I feel like my bias was mostly I'm going to mess it up and come at it from like a very male gaze exploitative section.
Mhm.
And I don't want to exploit, like, I'm very conscious of not exploiting, like, not just women. And like, I don't like exploitation most of the
Right.
form, any form that I can think of.
Right.
So like when SK came to me, I was like awesome. Like I know that like I'm not like if you're exploiting women, I don't like you're a woman. Like I feel like I have some level of like ability to like trust that I
Stand
can
behind it
adapt
in
this.
certain ways. Yeah.
And so I haven't really had a bias about it for the past several years.
Okay.
And but like I was very conscious of I've wanted to make a not safe for work comic for a long time, but like I'm like freaked out about having a million covers.
Yeah.
B, like I really wanted the material, like I was looking for a specific material. And C, like my bias was more like comics is exhausting and I don't know if it's worth it to make comics at all, like let alone
Right.
like
Right.
not safe for work and safe for work. So
It
like,
is
but,
exhausting.
like, you know, when you meet like the right collaborators who just are like, whatever, what do you want to do? Like I'm one who now like is very focused on like who I'm talking to, not like what necessarily we're doing. But like,
Right.
yeah, I think like my bias was mainly like in the last like couple of years since I've been thinking about this heavily is like I don't write a lot of sex in my books at all. Like I like have a kind of reputation of like the kinds of books that I do are like very empowering, both to not like women empowerment books, like they're empowering to. And I don't want to like make a book that is people like, oh great, like you just
Yeah.
like ruined all of that cachet.
Mhm.
And a lot
Right.
of my friends like told me I had to get over myself and just make the thing because like and so I've been looking very seriously and I've been talking to Lori about doing a comic like this for like 2 years, probably a year or two.
Okay.
And like the opportunity finally, like all of the things aligned. And I was like, yes, I can do this. I feel confident in my ability. The story was right. And like the partnership was right. And so, yeah, I mean, a good story is a good story. Now, as a reader, I personally don't like when every other paragraph is about like how hot someone is. Like, and SK doesn't write those kind of books. Like, there's plenty of that in like the thing, and like there's plenty of sexiness, but like people can get to also exist in like the world without
Right.
it
Right.
being constantly like they are sex.
Right.
I'm not great at the sex part. Like in real life, yes. In books, not as so much. I had to get help from a writer friend to sex it up. So I
Gotcha.
did beat by beat of here's what I want the sex scene to accomplish.
Yeah.
Here's why they have to do light BDSM for the story. Can you,
nice touch on the fishnets, by the way.
I like every single still. The one where Dallas had the wine glass, like that was the best one so far, and we didn't get to mention it.
So far.
This is the worst one so far, but still hot. But anyways,
Wait, am I frozen again?
Yeah. Yes. You
Oh,
freeze
son
all
of-
the time. I'm gonna.
should be a drinking game. Your podcast should have a drinking game for whenever Dallas has.
We
a
probably
story.
should. This has been happening a lot lately.
Yeah, we've both been breathing a lot lately, but go on. Sorry.
But yeah, I have. I do my best with the sexy parts, and then I have a good friend help me beef it up, and I have my editor be hypercritical of me. And like I'm most known for, my most popular best-selling books are humorous mysteries with a talking cat detective. That's what I write. So Death's
That's
Kiss
a hell of
Was
a-
unexpected.
yeah, that's what I'm known for. That's where I make most of my money. And now I'm writing humorous fantasy, and like I'm very much a humor writer. So that's not always conducive for writing a sex scene that is romantic and emotional and deep. That's
Right.
what she said.
In a serious way,
Um,
right?
Because I just want to make the jokes. And you
Right.
can't do that. And Death's Kiss is kind of more literary in feeling if you read the story, and it has the message of the dangers of westernization, and it has some of that deeper stuff. So I couldn't draw on my talents as a humor writer. And yeah, I don't really have talents as a sexy writer because I kind of get to those parts and I'm like, you know how sex works, people. Let's move on
Right.
with the story.
Right. And
So-
it happened. Next scene.
Insert sex scene here.
I
Right.
know sometimes I'll do that. Insert here. But yeah, I really liked the comic script because it's like moan effects, and I'm like, yes, I wish I could just do that in my books, like letter smash, and you know what's happening.
That actually begs the question, SK. What did you pick up from this comic experience that you might integrate into your baseline novel writing experience?
Well, I really love working with Russell, so we're already deep into the next project. I had a book I abandoned at the 2/3 mark. It's a sci-fi rom-com, and I said it was not supposed to be a rom-com, but I couldn't leave the humor out of it, so it became a rom-com. And I stopped it when I'm like, I'm way more interested in how they escape the barren planet versus whether or not they smash. So I think I need to step away. So when Russell's like, hey, I want to do another project together, I'm like, well, how do you feel about Alien Peen? And he was like, very enthusiastic. No, we
Did
had
you say
some back and
alien
forth.
peen?
Yeah.
The magic
Yeah.
penis, remember?
Yeah, he has a magic
She
penis.
gave
It's
me
very
a
amazing.
list of things that the penis can do.
Yes,
Like-
it was a really big challenge
power
for me
list.
because
So you're
Like-
taking it way beyond Dolomite, is what you're saying.
There you go.
I don't know
It
if that's a
was-
reference anyone's gonna get.
I don't know what you're saying, but I'm smiling about
Okay.
it. You look really
Yeah,
happy
I
if you're
guess there you
saying
go.
it. And I'm used to this from my husband.
I'm proud of
who
myself.
nonstop makes
Yeah.
references I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Bitch.
But yeah, no, I took away that I wanted to work with Russell more. I found some new artists that I want to work with more. I'm doing even more artworks for my other books. So right now I'm writing a humorous fantasy that I'm planning to kickstart. And I have a world map being drawn. I have a crest.
Cool.
I have character art being made. And it's just like crazy because now I'm used to everything I write needs 1,000 pieces of art attached.
Okay, so you picked that idea of the visual storytelling that really, that makes sense.
Definitely.
Good.
And at the same time, this project, I'm also working with Sound Booth Audio to create cinematic audio with a musician and a Foley artist. So now I'm
Very
having
cool.
to also think of things, how they sound and where can we incorporate music. And, when you're narrating, it sounds better if I say, Dave tilted his head. What are you doing, Dallas? Versus Dave tilted his head and said, what are you doing, Dallas? Like, that doesn't sound as good when you're narrating. So learning how to adapt my writing in that way, but then also becoming hyper visual because I'm bringing the art on very early as part of the process. So I think both of those experiences, having them close together, and the audio partnership happened because of Russell too. So having
this
these
guy.
two experiences close together, it took me from 1 dimension to 3 dimensions. So I think I'm definitely becoming a lot better writer from that experience. And I've written over 150 books and I'm still learning. Like, that's how you know you love it and you're in the right field, is if you're still learning and still wanting to improve and still recognizing you can improve.
Actually, a bit of a tangent here. You guys, you mentioned the bro thing earlier.
I'm so sorry.
And and we're talking about romance novels. I'm wondering.
Actually, Dallas, just before you keep going, because you brought up the bro thing again, I want to get some of these comments out of the way, because talk about bro energy.
Okay, go.
We do have our Russell Blake from Blake's Buzz. He did have to say, when we were talking about this, punches and kicks, thrusts and licks, talk about bro energy. There we go, taking it to the extreme. And then
I actually feel like I have heard a romance writer say those exact words.
It's Blake.
Maybe they're
pen name.
It's Blake. Yeah,
like thrusts and licks is like,
comics aren't paying his bills.
Buzz is
no, they are now, because he's now the editor-in-chief at Metal Ninja Studios.
That's
so,
right.
Like,
I apologize for the bro comment, and I also apologize for accepting gay
accepting gays,
strongly hinting that you guys should do a gay porn comic together, because I don't know if you got the reference of Davey.
I did. Here's the thing.
If we haven't talked about that already, we probably will in the future. It's all good.
It's a thing. It's a thing that's been following us our entire career. Like, most people think we're a couple when we meet, and it's like, no, that was gay, that was straight. It's okay.
I just said the bro thing because I felt awkward, not because you guys did anything that was.
No. So what I was saying was, we're talking about, you mentioned the bro thing, and we're talking about the romance novel space, and I'm wondering, because I'm in a sort of transitory period in my own creative life, is there a space for the bromance novel? And I'm wondering, if
you would have to get men to recognize and admit that they want romance to take on bromance. Otherwise, you call it something like buddy cop.
Yeah, no, I think we're going with
bromance.
I think it's going to become the bromance novel.
There is like there's a big reverse harem. There's like actually just harem novels, which I think are probably like the closest to bromance. Would you say that's accurate? Like, I have several friends who write like straight harem, like not reverse harem, like actual man with like 6.
So
that's something.
that would be major bro. Okay. That would be actually major incel.
Yeah, that'd be bro, capital B.
As an angry feminist. But yeah, reverse harem actually does have some of the bromance angle of multiple men sharing a woman and sometimes sharing each other. I write reverse harem that's bisexual female, though, so I don't write because I'm not a guy who likes guys, but I am a girl who likes girls. So I write bisexual harems. Nobody wants that, by the way.
I may have to investigate.
My worst seller.
But like man romances is like very
hot. A lot of female authors writing male romance, and there was recently recently a big uproar about that, where some gay male authors, one gay male author in particular, was very upset that women were fetishizing gay men and wrote this like manifesto and pissed a lot of people off. But yeah, if you want bromance, I think you can watch. There's I think a movie with Paul Rudd in it about a bromance. I think
I'm just going to have to write it.
I think it would be hard.
The romance novel guy.
It would be hard to sell to men. If you want to sell it to women, the men should be having sex with each other, and then it's not really a bromance. You don't really want the word brother in it.
Well, what you have to do is you got to find that sort of really sort of okay in their sexuality. Usually the youth, it's kind of youth tinted, I suppose, but the men who are okay in their sexuality. Start with that core audience. And
when you guys do your comic, like, sure, that can be the marketing angle. I'm telling you right now that I wrote a bisexual FF, and women sure as fuck didn't want that when they're reading romance all the time. But as soon as it's girl on girl, ew, I don't want that. I had some very big fans.
That is mildly surprising.
Women love, like, generally romance readers love male on male, but are very grossed out. And like, I had readers tell me, I like your books, I read this, but I skipped over the lesbian stuff.
Nice. Which is the opposite of comics. In comics, it's like everyone wants
Right.
LGBT books.
That's right, Russell.
As a person
To
who
be
writes
fair,
most,
I'm not sure it's the right audience that wants that.
I have been
in
trying to get Lori. I'm like, I know it's 100,000 words, but I'm really sad that my bisexual poly reverse harem dystopia didn't do well. Maybe comics would like it more.
Maybe it would 100%. I mean, the
It was
comics
very
are.
personal to me, so
It'd be a lot of
Yeah.
straight men that want it, but they're there, and
Yeah.
they would love it.
it's very personal to me because it's my coming out. Because I did not know I was bisexual until my child outed me by saying, "Mom, I like girls. I'm telling you because you're a little gay too." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" What? So I learned this about myself 2 years ago. And then this project was a lot of like processing that and getting comfortable in an identity shift. At the time I was 38.
Do you have any idea? Do you have any theories as to why you were not
aware?
just not aware or not wanting to be aware of that
Severe
until that
religious
point in your life?
trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it because of the way I was raised and the rampant homophobia. And I've always been very pro gay rights and everything. I just never knew that I was a little gay too.
Right.
Right. Like in the scheme, it's been a journey because I've been married to a man who I love deeply for 11 years. I'm not like, now I'm going to leave him. Like I'm still with him. So then it feels like I'm not really that. And he's like,
right.
So
no, I get it. I get it. I've been in I was in an 11-year relationship, then an 8-year relationship, both with women that identified as bi. So it's like I think that's why I'm surprised. I'm like, oh, you made it to 38 without knowing. Like, I feel like most people by the time they're in their 20s are finally starting to be like, accept it and recognize it and be like, no, it's both okay.
Well, I was like yelling at my husband about it. And because he's like, yeah, I knew immediately. I'm like, you've known for 11 years and you didn't tell me. He's like, it wasn't my job to tell you. And I'm like, you fucking told me. Like I had to be outed by my own kid. I had to have a baby. Wait for the baby to grow up and recognize their identity as sapphic non-binary. And then I found out.
Right. But he was,
They.
Yes, your No, your kid. Sorry.
They, them. Yeah.
They.
Yeah.
So they are growing up in an environment where that's a lot safer to recognize at a younger age versus our generations where it's like you said, the religious trauma and just having to get to this world that we live in today where it's like these things can be said relatively openly by comparison. We can come to these realizations and it's not life-threatening. It's not world ending or shattering or anything like that. It's just recognizing the full spectrum. Yeah,
my kid came out at 8 first as they said lesbian. That's their preferred term. And I'm like, it makes it look like I don't know what I'm talking about because that means you're a female and you're non-binary. They came out as non-binary a year and a half later. Okay. And as soon as they came out to me, I did the research and I found a therapist who's LGBT affirming because I'm like, they are going to need this tool. And I want them to be ready in case there's haters. And almost nobody in their generation cares that they're gay, but a lot of people care that they're non-binary. So it's
the newer thing, right? Yeah.
You're born a girl, you're a girl. You can't change that. Right. You can't not have a gender and it will really upset my child.
I mean, it's where we were with homosexuality, 20 years before. Well, it's again, that newer thing that we've all got to get, to use Russell's phrase, get over ourselves. Open up to,
It's hard to tell a 10-year-old to get over themselves, but I have a mental hit list of when these kids turn 18. Angry mama will be waiting.
Yes. Oh man.
But you're right, Russell.
I did want to.
In comics, it is the exact opposite in that those male on male sort of relationships just shine.
Yeah, and I'm so angry that that Cat and Phil realized there should be a sapphic romance between Glinda and the Wicked Witch of the West. Like, I'm so angry. It was right there. It's been right there for so long, and like I'm so happy for them. But I was literally at lunch, and I was like, I'm so angry. I like Cthulhu Invades Oz and Glinda and Sophic relationship with Wicked Witch of the West. Like, go. Like, those are like Oz is my one of the two things that like my two favorite like universes between that.
Okay.
And,
Yeah,
like,
I think you're right, Dallas, but I'm not sure if it was ever confirmed that they were sisters in, like, you know, like we were just saying brothers and like bromances. Like,
Yeah.
are they sister? Like, are they
Well-
sisters by family, or are they just because they're
Sisters
the
by
witches of
magic.
right, or something? So you could get away
their own
with it.
universe. Like, it can
Perhaps.
be anything. The one thing that I know about books is you can make anything you want, like in your own universe.
Damn
like,
right,
pull
Russell.
those things out and
You
make
too.
it do whatever the thing.
Damn right.
Yeah. I do want to say that one of the other things about getting over myself was like I never thought I would write for other people, and now like I find that that's all I want to do, like, and with other people. And
Is
I
that
think
because you have such a? What would you attribute that to? I suppose is that because you have so many years of solo writing behind you?
I think that I just like said everything I had to say. Like I feel like I had like stuff to say, and like I wanted to say those things.
Okay.
Also, have had pretty bad experiences on par until Monica with like partnerships. So like since then I've just gotten I've gotten more successful, and B, I think like my writing's just gotten better, and like writing with somebody is hard because like this book that I'm writing, like I have to make it my own, but also like mimic the things that are there as well and make it all sound right. And like write in like first person present in this particular book, which is like not a natural
talking
skill
about
for
our
me.
sci-fi again.
So but like even with the comic, like it really, I was really nervous because it's very easy to do a adaptation and have somebody go off the rails on you about it, or like hate it, or say like you did something wrong, or like blow up in some way. So like part of it was like, I don't know, I have like being a ghostwriter and like doing stuff like that is like very desert energy from our ecosystem. It like takes somebody who can enjoy the work without like needing to impose themselves into the work. And I do feel like at some level, like it took me writing a bunch of stuff and being like, I got nothing left. Like it was, I think the thing that drew me to this story the most is just like they were there, and like I didn't have to come up with them from scratch, which would have previously, in previous, probably even maybe like this time last year, been like a like negative against it. But I'm very good as a writer. Like I am burnt out on coming up with my own ideas and moving my own universes forward and like keeping the energy up for it. But like I've had just so many. So I did a story in an anthology. I've been doing like some stories in anthologies that I'm like not just collaborating to, but like they're just paying me to be part of their anthologies. Like the experiences have been so positive, and like, but I like in all of the ways I had to get over myself to do this project, and like the number one was to like understand you can separate like the work from putting yourself in the work. Which I think is was a lot harder for me before. I was like, oh no, like, it's all in the work. Like the work is done. Like if I never write another book for myself for the next like however long I live, like it's out there. Like both fiction and like nonfiction. Like I've written like a dozen nonfiction books and like or co-written a dozen nonfiction books, and like I've written over 40 novels, and just like I feel like I get it. Like I get I read through the final draft before sending it to SK earlier, and I was like, I don't know if this is any good, but like it's definitely as good as I can do on this thing. And like I feel like it feels like the rest of the book, and like mimicry is actually like a very high level skill for a
It is.
writer. Like to be, and the same thing with an
100%.
artist, like to be able to
Mm-hmm.
come into someone's work and like take over and make it feel like nothing, like there wasn't a cigarette burn, like there wasn't a real change,
Yeah.
is like not an easy skill. Like we think it's an easy skill, but it's like,
Right.
So both my own personal beliefs about my own work and just my personal beliefs on like that I did not want to like write other people's things. Like I had to kind of jump through both of those. And like also I've just gotten a lot better at picking partners. Like Monica, working with Monica for so long, and like we've gone through some ish and like we've come out the other side, but now I can like recognize all of it because it's like a marriage on some level when you have a business partner. Because it's like, oh, they're going to be here for 10 years. Like this is like, hopefully they'll be there for 20 years. Like you got to learn how to live with it. And this helps you like pick out all of those things. And like you learn, like just because you didn't do a thing doesn't diminish your role in the things. I don't know. Some word salad of that is all like what
that's what this podcast is: word salad and wine.
So for the most part, yeah. I will say I agree with you. I do think mimicry is one of the hardest things. It's like trying to understand even the sound of your own voice to other people, which we can never hear that. You know, it's like even when we hear a recording, which is never the exact same thing, we're always kind of shocked how we sound. And then if you're trying to mimic someone else's voice, you completely can't tell how well you're doing it whatsoever. Like you're imagining that voice and that speaker, that character, whatever. You're trying to mimic their voice, literally speaking it, kind of a thing. And it's all metaphor. But you don't know how well you're doing. It's only the only way you can tell is how other people respond to it and whether or not they do. So yeah, it's always, I think I get nervous even just homaging something, even when I'm not trying to be exactly them. I'm like, is this even in the ballpark? Is anyone even going to know what the fuck I'm doing? Would they ever, like, if I told them what I was homaging, would they be like, oh, okay, not really, but good try. So you never know with those kinds of a thing. You know, one other thing I wanted to jump back and just comment on too is, SK, to your point of being able to write sexy in prose. Like I did want to mention, since a lot of this conversation has been about getting over ourselves, getting past biases of not safe for work in comics form. And in prose form, I've always found that, like, for me, I've always been very reluctant and very resistant to the not safe for work comics, just because it's always seemed a little like cheap and easy. Like visualizing sexiness is always like the artists always do a really great job, but obviously a picture is kind of worth 1,000 words when it comes to those kinds of a thing. But I am always really curious about people successfully managing to be sexy in prose, because that is always something I'm like, how are they going to do that? And when I read sexy passages in prose form, I'm always somewhat studying like what that author is doing, because I'm always fascinated by, I'm like, does it work? Does it not? And all I can tell is, does it work or does it not for me personally? And then why does it work or does it not for me personally? But whenever an author takes a stab at that, especially a popular author, so plainly it works for a shit ton of people if they're like one of the top sellers of that genre. But I'm always fascinated by how that works in prose, because that is a skill in its own right. Whereas the image, we have movies, we have comics, we have photography, like we know how to be sexy visually. We're very hardwired to accept sexiness visually.
Yeah, what's important? So even though I told you all that I've written over 150 books, or around there, and I'm not great at the sex parts, and I still get help there. I do have a lot of experience with very sexy romance, because I also own a company, Novel Publicity, and we do ads for a lot of 6- and 7-figure authors. And my specialty is dark romance and reverse harem. So I read a lot of those in that genre. And
gotcha.
A sex scene really works when it advances either the story or the character. If it's just in there because, oh, it's time for some TNA, for titillation, as you said, which I love, and I'm going to use. If it's just in there for funsies and it's not advancing the story or doing something with the characters, then it shouldn't be in there.
Right. Right.
So, like I mentioned, Death's Kiss has some light BDSM. That's actually super important to the story and characters, not just because Russell and I decided to be kinky.
Letting go of the control, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There's my favorite moment is like both of them. The whole story.
Yeah.
Like there's a moment where you're like, it turns the entire book
Yeah,
on its
it
head,
does.
and like makes all the rest of the BDSM like necessary for the story. So
Yeah.
and like one of the things I love most about SK's writing is just like it often does both. It often does the story, like advances the story and the plot forward.
So it's motivated BDSM, huh?
It's really important.
It should
Like
be.
it
Yeah.
literally keeps a character from dying.
That's right.
So,
Right.
it's
That's right.
I mean, that advances the story because if one of the two characters in the romance dies,
Which is
the
a great
story-
commentary on BDSM in
Right.
general.
Well, and I liked the part about her character because she has a place in the universe where she doesn't not answer to anyone, but compared to like most human beings, doesn't really answer. Like she controls who is going and when. She gets to pick the target. Like it is that. And then the BDSM for her personally, not just the safety measure, but then that took her to another level from the previous sexy scene, which was now she gets to surrender complete control and just let everything happen, which is something she's never done before in her existence. So I also read that element in that particular scene, which was good because then you can have those sequence sex scenes, but each one serves its own purpose and takes it to another place.
I love hearing your different deep cuts and your takes. And I have to say, like, are you drinking non-alcoholic or are you just a super philosophical and intellectual drunk?
Oh, we froze.
Oh, super.
God
I'll go
damn
with
it.
this. I'll go with the latter.
Why am
I am not drinking non-alcoholic.
It's really, I mean,
Waste too much.
it's always fun as a writer because sometimes you put something in there and you have no idea you put it in there. But when you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I did that. That's me reading anything, like even just doing the second draft of a book. I'm like, wow, I had no idea I was foreshadowing this. Cool.
Right.
Well,
And I
one of
think
the interesting
when you're the
things
writer,
about-
you kind of have it in the back of your. Sorry, Russell. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like, and you can also get the comic and the novel on the novelette on the Kickstarter to see the difference. But one of the things I really played up way more than it's a point in the book is that moment where like the whole thing turns. Like it was in the story, but it was not like 4 pages. It was not worth. It was not like 25. It was like not like 20% of the story in the the book, and like I really like.
So it was something you pulled from it, and you were like, I want this more prominent in the comic version, and put it more prominently in there.
But it's just like this moment is like so important.
Co-authoring and
cool
collaborating, like BDSM, requires trust in the right partner.
There you go.
Nice.
Well done. Well done.
Way to pull it back home.
All right. Well, I think it's time. We won't take too long on this because we talked a lot about this story, but let's go take a look at that Kickstarter page just so we can see some of these covers, see some of the art, and share this with our viewers. So let me pull this up and share it on the screen.
I should also mention, like, you only showed the A.
All right, here we go.
Like, so I think that's the J cover or something like that. That's Luca Strati.
There you go.
That was,
so
this
is
the one that he sent us multiple concepts, and I'm like, that's the one. And Russell's like, are you sure that one's not really great? And I'm like, no, that's the one. Romance readers will love it. And I mean, we were actually both right because the 2 most popular covers are the ones that Russell chose from Luca and the one that I chose from Luca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Luca was easily,
Nice,
he has
nice.
this like very heavy metal style. So
yes, yeah, it does. But this is the interior art from Ishan Lee here on the preview pages. So you
With
can see
lettering
what it
from
all
Metal Ninja Studios.
Metal Ninja Studios. There you go. Got to shout them out. They did a decent chunk of work on this as well.
And they also made
But,
our beautiful logo.
yeah, in English and French.
Yeah.
English and French, digital or physical. And you did the prose story in English and French, right?
Yep.
So you can get both. Yep.
Yep. All of my books for SK Prints are translated into French as well.
Ah,
I feel like the fact that you work so much in translation also really helped you appreciate this process of
for
like
sure.
working, because you're like, it really is just another like kind of translation.
Right. But this is, we were just talking about the BDSM scene. Here's the beginning of it. And I do like your fudging out the little Mexican themed images here.
No, they're
Our
they're supposed to be there.
That's right.
I didn't actually know that was there until this moment. So
Which means I hope you actually print some of those up for
I do want to
public
mention
consumption.
again, since we're going through this, that the books are not standard comic size. They're actually
Right.
8.5 by 7.5, which is more like this
Yeah.
size versus like.
Let me make you bigger for a quick second, Russell.
Closer to magazine.
There you go.
So like it's almost
Yeah.
like this much difference. This is I think a 9 by 12, so it's not quite like the same, but like it's considerably more. And one of the advantages is each of the covers really feels like it's its own art print and can be like basically hung itself. The not that the standard comic size is not good. It's even bigger. I mean, it's bigger than a novel size. But like one of the things Lori told me was how excited she was that like basically you could just like, I don't know, CGC one of these and like hang them and it would be like it's wall art already.
Right.
I can't believe you backed 714 Kickstarters, Russell. That's
So
amazing.
There's so many good things.
There are so many good things. I'm over 1,200 myself, I think, at this point. So it's you can get a little into it.
I think I'm at like 10 now. Since we started this, I back a lot
Since
more.
you started, that's not bad.
And I always back at like really high levels. I'm like, of course I need the collector's whatever thing.
Gotta have it.
Well, that's good. See, I back a lot of very low levels because I mean at 1,200, I'm not that much made out of money, but I do some high level, and then for a lot of them, I'm like, okay, great, I'll get the digital edition and support and be an extra backer, and it's not too much money down.
Yeah.
So that's the A cover.
Yep, A cover, digital edition, $10. There you go.
English or French.
Or French.
Very nice.
Digital special edition.
That will come with our script, I believe, the inks, the pencils, like all of the like goodie extras.
Right.
And then these are all of people kept asking us for the digital cover collection. So like these are all of the Virgin covers.
Very nice.
Gotcha.
We'll see some going down, I think. But like again, the A cover
for physical. There you go, $20.
So this is this was the perk when I saw it. When we saw it the first time, I was like, "That's the A cover." I don't know. It just like has the right. It just looks like an A cover. I don't know. I think SK asked me about like how I knew this was an A cover, and I was like, "It's just like look at it. It's like an A. It's like screams A cover."
It's got the romance element perfectly down pat. The Death Kit, it has the supernatural, it has the romance, and you don't want too much sexiness on the A cover like this yet. So, but it has everything else in one perfect image. So yeah, I'm with you there. Yes. It's perfectly an A cover.
I will use that as an A cover moving forward. This is Kat Farrell.
Yeah.
I really love what you can't see in this image is she has this really, I don't know how she does it, but she has this like, it's almost like a texture to like the art. It feels like it's textured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we found her.
I can kind of see it.
Found her on Instagram.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And we not only have
everything
a lot of women creators, but we have a lot of queer women creators on this project too.
Great. Yeah, I love that cover.
This is Melissa Paliuca, my dear friend, and I was just so excited to be able to work with her finally. She does this book, Monster Heart, and another one called Above the Clouds, and just like, I mean,
I've
I
got
love
Above
all
the
of her
Clouds.
work.
And that's the favorite cover in French.
Ah, interesting. I would say this would be the backup A cover. Like this is also A cover material, very close to. But I can also see why the A cover, it's just a little more straightforward and standard, and this one's a bit more flourishy. And so, you know, if you're going to do both, have this one be one of the alts.
This is the kind of her she gets. So I believe she gave us this
She
coloring
originally did
first.
green, and I'm like, that's not the right color. So
Yeah.
then she did the other one. Russell's like, let's use both.
I was like, can you just give us both? And she's like, sure, I can charge you more. And I was like, we will pay more to get both. So
That's
let's do
great.
that.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
So people got options and more to collect, of course.
This is the one I fell in love with.
Yeah, that's
I was like, that's it. Russell's like, that doesn't look like a comic cover. I'm like, romance readers will love it.
Yeah. This is a
Although,
novel
to be
cover.
fair, you may want to do the inversion of this as well. I think that might sell with him naked against her in the robe. I'm just saying.
That is
His ass
so the
showing.
one thing that I regret
Good guy
not
bum.
doing,
Good guy bum is
Good guy
top.
bum.
Yeah.
Well, I regret not doing a full frontal of him.
Yeah.
We do another one sometime that is like another sexy one. I'm definitely that is like a romance author. I'm definitely getting.
I mentioned that at like the very end of the campaign when we already had all the art. I'm like, we don't have, man candy.
Yeah.
And then somebody actually mentioned it in a comment. So we did get a sexy, what'd you call it, Russell?
Manganette.
Of him as a as one of our milestone
Okay. Nice.
things.
Nice.
Like, comic people won't care about the man sexy man thing.
They love it.
Romance readers want it, and like, yes,
Yeah.
at that point I was like, even for us, our crazy spending, like getting another cover is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I would say if this were the inversion of this, I'd probably get the poster of it.
Beautiful.
okay,
And
so
the Lady
first-
Death.
Yeah, it's this was Jen St. Ange. So my the one that I paired this time is like how I learned to pick Jen St. Ange, and like I was so excited to work with her. I love this cover. I love her work. I like kind of fanboyed out. Probably too much on this one.
I can see that. And then we start to
that's
hit.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
So you can see this is a whole different pose, an entirely different cover than the previous Yishan Lee cover,
Yeah. Wow.
which was the
You
A
guys went
cover.
all out on this one.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's a completely different cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas, you got to get one of the medals in French, or I guess they're only Virgin, but you can pretend it's French.
That's right. That's right. I think that's a
So
very
this is
good
the
idea.
Naughty of
Yeah.
Pat Farrell's.
Yep.
This was the first one I
Yeah,
got, and I have to say it's still one of my favorite colorings that we got of the whole.
Are you a purple fan? I'm a purple fan.
Yes.
I'm a
I'm-
purple fan. For
There
sure.
it is.
Oh, that's blue. Sit
Love
down.
purple.
Are
My
you
hair's
colorblind?
usually
Purple in the
purple,
back.
but I'm due.
Yeah.
We decided at that last time we saw each other that purple was an indicator of a good NPC character that would be helpful.
I don't know that I applied to NPC, but purple
Here.
signals a good
Interesting.
person. You can
Yes.
trust purple.
There we go.
Interesting.
Well, what I don't know how to explain because
Interesting.
it was also items that are purple, just general purple things or humans.
They're never
General
bad for
pur-
you, right?
Generally, purple nouns are good for you. So this is like the most heavy metal cover I think that we got. Like it looks like it looks like it's like it can be ironed on to like the side of a van.
Yep.
That would
Yep.
be so sweet. You should
Yeah.
do that, Russell.
This looks like a band, like literal heavy
Yeah,
metal
this
band,
I
or the
can't
heavy
go
metal
to
magazine.
Pick up with that.
This is
Oh.
definitely shag and wagon content. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. There we go. The
Then
naughty
that's
version
the
of
Jen St. Ange one. I love the kind of American Beauty feel of it.
yeah. And then
we
all
have
of the
virgins.
safe ones, yeah, all virgin, yep.
I think there's a Virgin Naughty one. And there's
There we
Virgin
go.
Naughty one. And then there's a metal nice and
There
naughty
it
and
is.
nice one, I think.
Gotcha. And then naughty down here. There we go. Metallique.
And there's one, if you can get, like, there's a banger one where it's like $200 or something. You can get all of the covers and then you can add on all the metal ones. And I know that is $700 because people have got it and then made sure to message me that like they knew, which I would do too. I'm like, hey, I just want you to know I spent $700 on your campaign to get all the covers. And I was like,
remember my damn name. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and I think because once you start reaching those price points, people always worry that it's like, you know, not a real pledge or a false pledge someone's going to pull. So it is great that they can do that. Oh, and by the way, we have a Facebook user. I actually think it's Charlie Stickney, who's saying beautiful covers. So there you go. Yay. I know you stole one of his artists from Glarian. So there you go.
Thank you.
Collector box.
Very nice.
Oh, nice, nice. And that contains all the covers, I'm assuming? All non-metallic?
That's a Lori problem. That's a
Lori problem.
It has one of Russell's other comics and one of my hardcovers. I think it has the poly bisexual dystopian in it in hardcover.
Gotcha.
Cool.
If anybody was on the hook for that, it's called Shards of Sin. Maybe it will be a comic one day.
Say the title again.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. By SK Prince.
All right.
Yeah, here we go. So Death's Kiss collector's box with cover A nice, cover A naughty, Ichabod Jones Monster Hunter #1, the Shards of Sin hardcover duet, and Heart Eater, all signed by their respective authors. There you go.
Very
awesome. Nice. And then that's yours, right? That's your Sexagy.
Yeah, so I have 6 hardcovers, 5 are trilogies, and 1's a duet in either French or English.
Nice.
Some pretty covers.
Pretty covers in here. Your hardcovers.
Comics.
Hulu.
Yep. Russell Nolte collection, and then for 180, here's all the covers.
All the covers, not metals. Not metal covers. You have to add the metals on.
Gotcha.
Got it.
But everything non-metal right there. Then at 200, you get the complete Russell Nolte digital collection. That is a lot of shit, guys. So, you know, look.
That's literally this and more. They don't all fit on one row anymore. It's not as much as the SK Prince, the SK Total,
which is coming
all
here.
Of her collection, 140 books, but it's a lot. Like I've had a career.
Here it is, the SK Prince all in. There we go. Woo.
Wow.
Son of a gun.
Wow, wow, wow.
And then we hit the Laguna Studios all in. And is Laguna Studios, tell us, Lori's. Laguna Studios, what specifically is that?
That's Lori's.
It's Lori's new company. Just no longer with Unlikely Heroes. So this is the new banner that she set up.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Woo. And then for 500, it is the Russell Nolte all in, but physical. And digital. It's all in. So it's everything. Everything.
All in a box.
And 700, the Super All In. Now, is this... No, Super All In still does not contain the metal prints. That is only as add-ons. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yep. I just saw the
metals are easily... I mean, they're very expensive to get. Like metal cover to print is like...
Yep.
Like Yeah, and then we have a lot of covers, so
You do. You do.
but honestly, like that's a Lori problem. I think I don't. It's like the
You
minute
gotta
we
love it
signed
when
that
it can
contract, a
be
lot of
someone
things
else's
became
problem.
Lori
Yeah.
problems, and then we also needed
Yes.
French.
Yep.
Shout out to Kickstarter for having these
All right.
this nice scroll on the left side, so you can find the French easily.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you have to? You guys have to do the translation, or did they do the translation for this? Did Kickstarter?
Lori
do
did.
this?
Oh no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
god.
Kickstarter
Wow.
ain't Google, and you wouldn't want to do
That's true.
automatic translation from any company, I don't think. Especially if you want people in like native speakers of that language to actually buy the stuff. That would probably not give them a lot of confidence.
That's part of how I cultivated my French fan base is they're not an afterthought, they're a priority. Like I also have a lot of readers in Germany and Italy, and I have Spanish and Japanese translations that haven't really taken off, but I have separate social media pages and websites. I have a free story when you sign up for my newsletter in that language. I write a message for the newsletter and then I have it properly translated.
That's great.
I have a bilingual, one of my assistants is bilingual in French, and she responds to all the comments. And even though she doesn't speak German and Italian, she can still conjugate and respect language properly.
Right.
And if we have to reply to fan mail in those languages, we'll say, you know, excuse us, we're doing our best with, you know, Google Translate. Because with fan mail, you want it a little faster than going through the translator.
Right.
But even for Germany, I have like a which character are you quiz for readers of Molly Fitz, and I just do a lot of special things for them. And I think they really appreciate that because most people either don't get into translations or like, okay, I'm here, I guess that's it. And really like over 80% of my income is the EU.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm actually going to Italy next month because I'm like, I get a lot of money from Italy. I want to go there. They're obviously cool people. They like all my pen names, so they must be amazing people. I'm going to go over there. So,
lots of wine at all the bars. Well, because you'll be doing business. It's fair. You get to do it.
I'm really excited. It's going to be my first time in Europe, and that's going to be my 6th continent. Like, why did I save Europe for last other than Antarctica? I don't know, but I'm really excited to go.
Very cool.
Beautiful. All right. Well, that is the Kickstarter, guys.
It is.
You have seen everything there is to see, at least until you get the book in your hot hands or anything else that you wind up pledging for. All right. Well, we are at the wine pairing stage. So, Dallas, it is your turn to go first. What did you decide to pair with Death's Kiss? I think you're frozen. So hold on.
Yeah.
I don't want you to do this part frozen. That would be lame. Let's get you back up here. There you go.
I would really love as a follow-up a screenshot still of Dallas holding the metal cover he chose.
All right, Dallas, we might not have a choice. I'm going to try it one more time. You froze within seconds of coming back, but here we go. One last time. Otherwise, we're just going to let it go. But okay, what do we got?
All right. Can you see and or hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastico. So in my pairing, I usually, just to preface this, I usually choose the wine I would drink as a very passive character in the world of the comic. So imagine Where's Waldo, who's constantly leaning against a wall, watching the mayhem play out. He never lifts a finger to help anyone. He's not saving any old women or any babies. He's just watching and drinking his wine passively.
He's the main character, but not collecting souls.
There you go. Or the wine I enjoy while actually reading the property on the couch. And this time I chose the wine I really thoroughly
You're frozen
enjoy.
again, but I'm going to wait until you have the wine to present, and then I'll unfreeze you. So keep going.
Damn you, Spectrum, or whoever I have. And this time I chose the wine I would enjoy on the couch, and did enjoy on the couch while reading this. I knew I wanted something whose roots stretched back really far in the lineage of wine, because you have this sort of eternal sort of strain running through these characters. So I wanted something that kind of mirrored that. I knew I wanted an old world grape. And you can go to some of those really old world grapes, any of the Tuscans or, any of the old crap that are sort of the baseline of the wine world. But I decided I wanted something crisp, something that was sort of Riesling adjacent, something that had a pretty high minerality. When investigating the Rieslings and thinking about the Rieslings, I came across, of course, the Elbling grape, which is an ancient white grape, which has its roots in Rome. It's made its way to Germany like 2,000 years ago. It is said to be the grape mentioned by Pliny the Elder, or Pliny, depending on the pronunciation of your part of the world.
Pliny, I think.
It was once the most planted grape varietal in Luxembourg, which, of course, as anyone knows, is adjacent to Germany. At least it used to be. I don't know what their boundaries are anymore because I don't follow geography as well as I did when I was Geography B champ back in 1993.
Spelling champ here.
So I went with this Elbling grape. Now, I know this grape to be highly mineral in terms of the palate. So you get this sort of really clear minerality, sort of like licking a piece of granite or some really dry earth. I know that doesn't sound very appealing, but it really is in context of a wine. It's been planted in Luxembourg, at least for since the 13th century. You get a really high quality, low yield. And I think in comparison to the breadth of the work you guys have done on either side, this sort of singular kind of issue, it just stands out because it is so unique. And both of you coming from your varied backgrounds to make this thing happen in a big way, because you did put a lot of energy into this, and all the covers and the sort of variants and making sure the story is as clear as possible. I knew I needed something that was lively, fresh, light on its feet, because the world you create, while it is dark, that kind of romantic BDSM world definitely gives a counterpoint. So I chose this Elbling Weingers First 2022.
Ready to show it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait,
Okay,
I'm
hold
still
on.
frozen? God damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Bitch.
There we go. Oh, nope. Come back.
My face bottle modeling. How's that?
All right. Now, there you go. Let's do it. No, one more time. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it.
Oh, there we go.
There it is. Show the label a bit better.
All right, there.
Elbling.
There we are. There we are.
Nice.
The Trocken 2022 Moselle by the Weingert First vineyard. It is kind of fantastic. I will say it holds up very well to this world, and I do like what you guys have done in terms of the depth of character, in terms of this sort of glorious car crash of creators. It just kind of sings, and so does this Riesling adjacent Elbling from the Weingert First vineyard. So that is my guy.
That was a beautiful recommendation. Can I hire you to follow me around everywhere and introduce me to people like that? I think I would get even more.
And I will say,
around for everybody.
Around for everybody, especially when you go over to Europe. And for those Elbling, he mentioned it was Trocken, which is dry in German parlance. So, which means they might make off dry or semi-sweet or sweet versions of that as well.
But he's recommending the Trocken a year earlier. Yeah.
So he's recommending specifically the Trocken, the dry. So if you see that word, It's spelled exactly like it
And
sounds.
again, price point
Trockeen.
is they only made about 10,000 cases, which actually is fairly small for an international rollout. And the price point is anywhere from 15 to $25, depending on
Nice.
where you find it. Yeah, it's the oldest German grape technically. So
Right.
yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I went a completely different direction with this. And not only so, if you're on a budget, you're going to need to drink Dallas's, because I
Oh, this
don't
is
do this
different.
very
Usually,
often.
I'm the other guy.
Exactly. You're usually the guy that doesn't care about like the price point per se.
Yeah.
Though you're usually very good at giving like affordable for
Yeah.
for a wine. Wine doesn't always come very affordably, but you're very good at always finding those. And right now, Dallas is on the East Coast, and the East Coast is just filthy with European wines for insane deals that the West Coast does not get as much of. I'm
Yeah.
a bit sore about that, but in America, it sucks because it has to travel all the way across the country to get to us versus the East Coast. I have looked on a globe because I got so upset about this that I'm like, can we just go the other direction and they can still get it to the West Coast? No, that's still further.
Yeah.
So
you know where I live?
Oh no, where?
Alaska.
Oh, you do live in Alaska? Okay, so it's even worse for you. I get
guess
it.
what the variety is like up here.
Yeah.
It's funny. You were like, you still have Antarctica to go to, but I feel like you're not far off up there.
Antarctica is next year, and I slept on it because I'm like, it's gonna be like Alaska, but with penguins.
Exactly.
Instead of moose, and
Exactly.
it's really expensive, but I got to get the 71.
Right.
So
right,
Yeah.
but it's like you just get the bragging rights. So it's like you got to do it to check that box, but you're like, it's like home. Why would I go? I get that. So what I went with was something very polar opposite. This comic to me, I kind of went with what the comic is really about for its characters, which is all about throwing caution to the wind, losing yourself to something that is such a hedonistic experience that you lose yourself. And I think romance, any great romance is, as I mentioned earlier before, it's about sacrifice. It's about something that is not like you alone outside of that romance are not that person. And then in that romance, it starts to change you. It starts to change how you calculate things. It starts to change how you think about things. It changes what's important to you and what's not necessarily in like really crazy, like, your whole moral compass goes out of whack. It's usually not that, but you do stop changing. Like when you're before the great romance of your life, or whatever great romance of your life, there's like a lot of your decisions are very practical. They're very earthbound. They're very, it's like I'm a rational human being. And then you meet that person that you're not that. I mean, it's a kind of rational. It is, you have to go with what you feel, and you have to go with what you can't get out of your mind. But it's a different kind of rational that is very antithetical to the other kind of rational. And so it is taking yourself somewhere that you normally would not go and allowing yourself to experience things you normally would not experience. It has to be hedonistic. It has to be an experience and a decadence that is unlike this is not something you would drink every day. This is not something that you would even consider every day. So this is going to be a rare recommendation where I'm going pricey and I'm going like, this is a splurge, and it's meant to be, because that is what fits this kind of comic. So my favorite varietal in the world is a Petite Syrah. It was my gateway varietal. It was the first wine when I was working restaurants back in the day. They made us taste all these wines to get to know the menu, and they all I was young. It tasted like sour grape juice. I was like, yeah, okay, it's wine. It tasted like wine. I didn't like any of it. And then I tasted this one, and it wasn't even a particularly pricey one, but it was the first wine I'd ever sipped that I was like, okay, if I tried, I can see myself starting to enjoy this. It's close to actually being enjoyable. And when I finally, many, many years later, decided that I really did want to kind of deep dive. I was living in California. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm here. I need to start experiencing this stuff. And so I did. And I went to Petite Sirahs first and then branched out from there and got really nerdy about it and went way down the rabbit hole. But Petite Sirahs are still my great love. Nothing has supplanted them. And when you get a truly great Petite Sirah, it is life-changing. Even for me, who already liked Petite Sirahs, I was young and poor, and I was not drinking the good, expensive stuff. I was drinking the stuff I could get at Trader Joe's and at the grocery store. And then I started graduating further and further up. And Petite Sirah has really, it's a blending grape in Europe. They really don't give it a lot of, they don't let it shine on its own. You never get a bottle of Petite Sirah. To my knowledge, no one in Europe actually produces a bottle of Petite Sirah. But here in California, it has found its home. And it shines so well. This is a Napa Valley Petite Sirah. This is from Marston Family Vineyard 2014 Petite Sirah. I do highly recommend. This is on sale at their website, the 2014 right now. They also have 2017s, 2018. They have other years. This is the one I recommend. They're all the same price right now, $100 a bottle. So it's not crazy priced, but it's not budget. It's just triple digit. And this thing is at Petite Sirah is a rough grape when it's young. It's very tannic. It's very rough around the edges. 10 years of age on it, it is fucking perfection. And it's mellowed. Those rough edges are gone. It is pure bliss, but also it is decadent. It is rich. It is strong. It is all the black fruits under the sun, the black plum, the blackberries, the black currant. And then you've got all these herbaceous notes. You've got the sage, you've got some thyme, you've got tobacco, cigar box, leather. It's everything in this one incredibly juicy, dense, concentrated sip that at a 2014 is smooth as silk. This is like your go to town. You're not getting it every day. But this is the wine that I think something like this comic, which is all about losing yourself and having an experience that you've never had before, that you're losing yourself to something or someone else, and you're letting yourself go places that you didn't think you could go before that moment. This is my wine. This is my perfect decadent pairing. Anyone else out there who's listening to this, if you are also into wine and there's a different decadent hedonistic wine for you that you've already found, go with that hedonistic decadent wine that is for you. But for me, it is this 2014 Marston Family Vineyard Petite Sirah. Cannot recommend it enough. $100 a bottle. It's on sale at their website. That's my pairing.
Yeah, with those California Petite Sirahs, you're going to get lots of that blackberry. You're going to get some cracked pepper in there. And it really opens up with time, and it becomes a full experience in the glass on its own.
Good point. I will say
decant
it for
really just allow
for an hour.
Yeah.
Let the bottle be open in your glass.
Now.
Well, it is time to turn it over to our guests. So we always have our guests. Yeah. Yes, we always have our guests shout out a comic that they've enjoyed or love, or in SK's case, maybe something a little adjacent to that, which we're going to find out, and then pair it with a beverage of their choice. SK, get us started, because you already gave us a little tease of this. So spotlight it properly now.
Well, I have sparkling cider in a Chihuahua glass.
Very nice.
Not hard cider, by the way.
It's not. My husband didn't feel like having me drunk tonight, so he did not bring me what I requested and forced the sparkling cider upon me. And now I'm so sad because I want a Petite Sirah. I'm like an avid dry red drinker. And then my child forces this upon me regularly. My child loves FNAF obsessively. We had to see the movie on opening night. I know all the lore and not by choice. So these pair well nicely together because, we're a trio. And my husband forced this upon me, and my kid forced this upon me.
There you go.
But I love them both so much, so
It's worth it.
I'm happy to have the things.
Oh.
Very nice.
So I've only seen the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I've never read any of the comics. What are your thoughts on the movie versus the comics?
The comics are definitely the best. I'm an avid gamer. And I hate the game. I think it's so lame. But something so simple produced such deep lore, and the books really get into the depth of the lore, and it's actually really intelligent and interesting. The movie is basically, let's do the Save the Cat screenwriting template as on the nose as possible. So that was kind of fun as a writer. Like, here's literally fun in games. The animatronics are dancing and making a fort. So the books, hands down, are the best. The other part of the FNAF franchise that we really appreciate around here is it's its own music genre. My kid has a playlist of I think it's 26 hours long, and it's only Five Nights at Freddy's music.
Interesting.
So it's
I'm gonna
kind of
check
like
that out. Actually, hold on.
it's kind of like an emo cyberpunk kind of genre with like, it's kind of made it acceptable and mainstream for kids to have dark feelings. And it's really interesting when you see a 6-year-old like, haha, he murders children. Haha, he always comes back. And they love it. And it's made horror more mainstream. And I love the horror genre. So I'm all for it. And my kiddo and I are actually slowly co-writing a version of PG-13 horror called Deadline. So maybe one day that we also have a FNAF fan fiction that we're working on just with an AI for fun. That will never go anywhere, but that's just a fun mother-kid project.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Russell, what do you got for us today?
All right, so I was thinking of my favorite not safe for work comics. And I don't have that many of them. But my absolute favorite one is Destiny New York.
Oh, yes.
And my favorite character in Destiny New York is Taylor. Like, I am Team Taylor for life. I don't care about Logan or like Lilith. Like, I like Logan fine, but like Taylor is my girl in that one. And so she has her own book called Smoke Weed, See the Future, and it's great. And like, it's just pure Taylor, and I love it so much. I love all of the Destiny New York one. This is probably, aside from the gangster ass barista, like the least sexy one that in their whole line. Destiny New York is not like super sexy, but there's definitely like a lot of sex in there. It's not like cheeky or I can't remember the other one. They're like pure erotica, and it's not like Clonsters. It's like right in the middle with like a little more sexy than not.
Right. Like, there's relationship drama and sexiness with those relationships and whatnot. But yeah, Destiny New York, it's interesting because I wouldn't have thought of it as a not safe for work comic. You're right. It is. It's got the content. And sometimes, like, they've always got like a cover or something like that is definitely the sexy cover every time they come out with a new volume or something. But it's interesting. I get all the Destiny New York stuff. But of course, I just said earlier that I'm like, oh, I don't do any not safe for work. And it's one that my brain does not quite file under that category, but yeah,
but
good
they
choice.
Jed St. Onge did a year of Space Between books, and I think I got most of them. But like, anytime there's a Jed St. Onge option, like, I'm going to get it. And
hold that up again. I just made you bigger. Hold that cover up one more time for me.
2 volumes of Smoke Weed, See the Future. Listen, you're gonna want to read Destiny New York first, because you have to get the backstory of Taylor before you do this one. Not because it's not great on its own, just because like, you got to be Team Taylor, and you really get to be Team Taylor after like volume 4 or 3, whatever the one Destiny New York. Like, at the end of one of the
Yeah.
volumes, which is right before this one, like, was when I was like, while I was reading it, I was texting Pat like, well, Taylor's my, like, I don't care. I'm team Taylor. And like at the end of one of them, I was like, rude. And he was like, wait. And so like so it's like all of my favorites, you know, all my favorite things, including Pat, not that he's a thing, but like Pat is one of the best indie and non-indie writers of, I think, in comics. And so to be able to pair one of my other favorite indie writers, Charlie's artist, with like a Jen St. Ange cover, like, and be able to like take two things that I love so much about the indie scene and blend them together. And then there's this Sam Pellegrino that's Blood Orange, which is the bomb, and I guess I'm gonna take that.
That is a good one, actually. That's my favorite Sam Pellegrino. Yeah,
it's like dope. Like it's got some. They've got some dope like essenzias and all the. It's like 150 calories, but like it's so good.
It is really good. It is.
All right.
Good stuff, people.
Beautiful, guys.
Great episode.
I think that wraps us up. Anything else you guys have going on aside from this Kickstarter that you want to shout out to our viewers before we sign off for the night? Now's the time. No? Okay. We are good to go.
Like, well, that's just like, it's like there's so much.
I know. There's so much.
Where do we start?
Well, go to this
like,
Kickstarter, guys.
Yes.
There's a link below this video. If you're watching this either right now or as a recording on YouTube, there's a link directly to the Kickstarter below this video. You can find Russell's Kickstarter profile there, which will lead you to many, many more things. I'm sure their SK's profile is there as well. We will try and call a lot of their social media profiles as well and post them below this video in post. But thank you so much, Russell, SK. This has been a great little slightly over 2-hour chat with you guys. It was great to meet you, SK, to talk to you for the first time, Russell. It's wonderful as always.
Great
to see you.
And hopefully
all right, everyone. This has been another Wine and Comics Pairing Show.
All right.
Signing off.
Night, guys.